and good evening, and you're very welcome back to episode number 9 of our Final Whistle Ladies Gaelic Football Podcast. We're now very much on the road to Croke Park, August the 3rd now, just around the corner, and all 3 of our All-Ireland finals have now been decided with both the teams and the throw-in times after an exhilarating weekend of just 2 games, but by God, those 2 games definitely had us on the edge of our seat. Once again, joined, of course, by Clare Owens of Leitrim and Joanne Doonan of Fermanagh. Let's get straight into the senior semi-finals. The first of our doubleheader from Glennis O'Connor Park in Tullamore at the weekend. Meath against Kerry was always going to be a battle between these 2 teams. We had spoken about it last week, and regardless of what happens on August the 3rd, we will have a new name on Brendan Martin this year, as Meath defeated Kerry by 2 goals and 12 points to 1 goal and 9 goals from Kerry Cole and Sarah Wall in each half, helping Meath dethrone the 2024 champions, and now the 2022 champions are back in an All-Ireland final, looking to get yet another Brendan Martin back home to the Royal County. Kerry did start strong. Siofra O'Shea and Anna Galvin getting a couple of early points, and then Meath come straight back into the game. Marion Farrelly, Emma Duggan and Ciara Smith with 3 points in succession, putting them ahead. Siofra gets Kerry back on the board. It's a very closely fought opening quarter, and then Meath absolutely hit the jugular. 18 minutes on the clock, and Kerry Cole, who we spoke about last week, younger player coming into the panel, what way was she going to perform? And when she got the chance, she absolutely smashed the ball into the back of the Kerry net, and that certainly set Meath up in that opening half. And while Kerry did have their chances, they spurned a couple, and from the Meath perspective, they went into the dressing room ahead 1-5 to 6 points. But as we've always said, Kerry do like to come back in the second half, and immediately Danielle O'Leary has the ball in the back of the net and Kerry go into a 1-point advantage. But Meath didn't panic, really showed their quality, the likes of Duggan and Evie Cleary getting scores, and that third quarter was very tense. It was, tit for tat. It was a very, very close battle between the 2 teams. It was always going to be decided by another goal, and it's Sarah Wall this time. Lovely run forward from the centre back, and yet again, it's another fantastic finish. The 2 goals that Meath scored were of one of the highest qualities. We will talk about another goal that definitely stole the headlines from the second game, but that was a fantastic second goal from Meath. And then, Smith and O'Shea are exchanging points. Kerry are trying to come back. And then in the closing 10 minutes, Meath are 4 points ahead. They're looking comfortable. They're getting onto the ball quick. Kerry they're trying their level best, but Meath just looked so strong. And then Emma Duggan gets 2 points toward the latter stages of the game, and we have Meath back in an All-Ireland final. The 2021 and 22 champions looking to be back. I know we spoke last week about how tight this game was going to be, and Meath and Kerry were obviously 2 very, very strong teams, but I think a lot of people, Claire, might have been writing Meath off going into this game. And I know when I spoke to Mary Kate Lynch last week, I said, about the 21 final where you went in against Dublin, there was a lot said that you weren't going to get over the line against a team like Dublin that were chasing a 5 in a row. They were the all-conquering team in Ireland at that time, and obviously Kerry looking to go for back-to-back and make a 4th All-Ireland final in succession, but Meath definitely proved the doubters wrong.
Yeah, for sure. And look, we spoke about it last week that Meath have been going very quietly about their business. And when you can get away without people talking you up, and you can back it up, you can back up your performance kind of with the quality that they have, like, it's kind of an ideal scenario, really. You as I say, they have the quality, and yet nobody was going to be talking about them. So it's ideal going into a game like that, and you're going in against the reigning champions. What have we got to lose? All that. People are expecting us not to come out on top. So it was probably the perfect kind of storm, let's call it, for Meath, and then the not so perfect storm for Kerry, because all the pressure was on them. And I think I know they've played tight games this year, but they probably just weren't asked as many questions by anybody else, and weren't maybe just that battle hardened, if you want to call it that. So yeah, Meath asked the questions, and Kerry just didn't have the answers at the weekend. Meath were so impressive as a team. I thought, like, you have the Emma Duggans, the Vicky Walls, but you're looking all across the field, like I just, as a 15 and plus the finishers that came on, they're a really, really strong outfit. And, you know, that idea that you're only as strong as the weakest link and all that, that I suppose what you want is you want a really strong collective rather than a standout 2 or 3 or 4 players who are going to pull you out of a hole. Like, so they kind of have it all this year in the fact that they have star performers, but as a collective, they're super, super strong.
I know we spoke about the matchups last week and what, you know, both teams did line out. I know Kerry did make a change with Jade and Lucy coming in for Rachel Dwyer for their starting team when we went to the programme and stuff, but they did keep Vicky Wall scoreless, but it was the little things that she was doing throughout the game that might have gone unnoticed, but it was creating those chances. And when Meath they ran at pace, they played that brand of football that when we saw them in 21 and 22, like they were just a joy to watch, just the way they just attack at pace and just how, you know, quickly they can move the ball and everything like that. And obviously Wall is scoreless in the game, but obviously Emma Duggan, as you mentioned, gets 5 points, and then, you know, Sarah Wall and Kerry Cole are getting the 2 goals. And you mightn't have thought of the players on the pitch that it's, you know, your centre back coming forward, but their runs from a defender's perspective, like, were you just impressed by just how much attacking threat Meath did bring?
Well, that's exactly it. And, you know, the idea of keeping Vicky Wall scoreless, you know, Meath don't care who scores for them. Vicky Wall, I'm sure, doesn't particularly care that she didn't score. So sometimes Vicky Wall scores a couple of points and it's, oh, what do we do? We need to change things up. How do we sort this? But maybe if it's a couple of other scores, you know, the opposition are thinking, it's okay. You know, number 10 scored, that's fine. Number 7 scored. And it's not the Vicky Wall or the big game player or the big name player. But actually, like you say, it's what she's doing to help those other people get the scores. Like, and, you know, on a team, like some of the best players are those who go very quietly about their business and aren't maybe noticed and pointed out as a top player. And as I say, a team don't really care who gets them there. It's a team for a reason. So whether it's your day to shine or it's not, or it's your day to provide, as I say, Vicky or Meath aren't worried today about who scored what and who did what, but they got there together.
No, absolutely. They're back in an All-Ireland final. They'll be preparing for that. And whether it was a 6-point win or a 1-point win, I don't think they would have mattered as long as the outcome was in their favour. But just on I suppose Meath's attacking play, Joanne, like, coming from a forward yourself, and the other way, like you have the forwards that, you know, you keep the eye on and you see them on a team sheet and you're like going, okay, maybe we double mark them, or you're putting your best marker on them, or you're just trying to neutralize them. But then you have those hard-working forwards they're in your half back line when you're defending and they're up trying just to work the ball and do that. I think Meath showcased that they have a lot of those, I suppose, industrial players that they can call upon that just have massive engines that when they need someone to run the ball and to play the passes, like the 2 goals, they just managed to get through the Kerry defence and just showed just what they can do once they get that ball in those vital areas.
Yeah, and I think Clare hit the nail on the head. Like, they just looked like they were singing off the same hymn sheet. Like, they just were a very one-team approach as an individualised approach. And I know, like, it's hard not to talk about Vicky Wall, but I definitely think as a forward perspective, even like the likes of Emer Schmidt in our team, you know they're probably going to get a lot of attention. You know they're probably going to take away one of their best defenders out of the play, because even, you know, defenders are such a vital role in attacking play now that if Vicky doesn't even touch the ball, she's still dragging 1 or 2 defenders, even a swivel ahead to allow someone to get that wee bit of separation. Those are the things that, again, like you said, go unnoticed, and even sometimes unnoticed, even on the camera. It's only when you're there that you really see those unselfish runs. And I think that's a massive thing in any forward play. Like, you know, everybody can't be running the same space, everybody can't be running looking for the same ball, and that's probably what Meath done so well. They worked well with each other, created that space, got that separation, and like you said, they just attacked. And I love seeing a defender score here for me as a forward. Like, but I'm a very I feel like I do, if I was managing a team, I think I'd be like, you know, all attacking, like, doesn't matter if the house is down kind of scenario, like, you know, risk versus reward. Like, I love when you see teams go for it. Like, you know, I think there's no point in those scenarios playing safe. Like, obviously there's a time and a place, like, but I definitely think just Meath looked very quietly confident, and I think all them players knew when they had that opportunity, if the opportunity arose, they were going to take it, and they certainly did. And I think like we said last week when we seen Kerry start so well, we were like, oh Jesus, here Kerry's on here. We always said they were second half team, but no, Meath were very calm, very composed for still a young team. Like it is very impressive to watch.
I don't think the results in terms of the outcome surprised people, because Meath are still a quality team. I know 23 and 24 didn't go their way, but as I said, like their run in semi-finals and making All-Ireland finals those years, I know they didn't get over the line in the intermediate grade until a few years later, and then went on the run of winning 3 All-Ireland titles in a row, 2 at senior and 1 in intermediate. Was, I suppose, were eyebrows more raised at just how they controlled the game and just how they went about their business in that final quarter, that Kerry were just trying and throwing everything at it to try and get back to Croke Park, but Meath just looked so composed from 1 all the way down to 15, and obviously the couple of finishers that did make their way off the bench.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to them all singing off the same hymn sheet. Like, you know, everybody knew what to do. They were ahead. Stay calm. Don't kind of lower yourself to, I suppose, Kerry, like the erraticness, or, you know, the we must score. You know, it's the opposite for me. Like, they need to just calm it down, and I think they showed real character in that, and like they know what to do in certain scenarios. Like we've talked about it the last few days, or the last few podcasts, about, you know, if you're in this situation, what are we all doing? Are we all doing the same thing? And I think it looked like that's what they were doing. But like Claire mentioned before, like I definitely do think, you know, being battle hardened comes into that, and having that bit of experience. Like, again, you can do all the scenarios and video work you can, but until you have those games and see how it tests your character and how it tests the team, you probably don't learn fully from that. But yeah, like Meath were very impressive and very calm and composed in those last 15 minutes.
I know both of you had, you know, those games last year in your respective championships that, you know, were very energy sapping, but did get you prepared for what was going to come towards the business end of the season. And Claire, I know I always talk about the game in Fermanagh Park, but like, if you wanted a game to set you up for an All-Ireland final, that's what you want in a semi-final. And I imagine Meath will be delighted with the performance that they delivered against Kerry, and can now take an awful lot against Dublin, a repeat of yet another or many a Leinster final, and of course that 2021 decider.
Yeah, well, I think both semi-finals are good preparation for, you know, Dublin semi-final is good preparation for them. Meath is a good preparation too. Like, when you look at the men's, let's say the gap in the score of both semi-finals and the men's is not what a team wants, you know. I think, yeah. So yeah, exactly like you say, really good preparation, because they got to work on lots of what they're doing in the training ground, but yet it had enough kind of in that last quarter of, well, we need to win this game. So it kind of had a good mix of both for them, I think. And yeah, look, obviously Kerry will be disappointed, but, you know, equally on the whole, Meath were just a better team, and you couldn't really argue with the results in any way. So yeah, for Kerry, very disappointing, but for Meath, as you say, good preparation for what's to come on the August Bank Holiday weekend.
Because I know Kerry have gone through that little bit of a transition since last year, even though they were All-Ireland champions, new management team, and a lot of players have walked away to do a variety of different things, and maybe their panel will look, again, a lot different for 26. Will we see players return, or will we see a couple more depart? Waits to be seen. But Meath have gone about their business well. They still have those players that lined out in Croke Park back in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, and they'll be more than prepared for what comes ahead now on August the 3rd. As I mentioned, it will be Dublin, as they got over the line against Galway after the most dramatic of extra times. Last year, it was the quarter-final stage. These two went all the way to extra time, and we had 4 goals in the second half of extra time, and it was just an absolutely pulsating game from start to finish. Interesting at the start, I know we mentioned the finishers that Dublin and Galway could call upon. Obviously, Dublin made 2 changes to the starters. Carla Rowe comes in, and you've Hannah McGuinness coming in as well, who I thought might have started, but they did make the late switch. Then the Galway ones, Aoife Malloy comes in for Sarah Lynchig, very, very strong fullback that didn't come into the team until very late on in extra time. And then Roisin Leonard coming in for Leanne Cohen. So it was always going to be interesting looking at those teams early on to say, okay, what way is this game going to go? And as I mentioned, Dublin lost last year in the quarterfinal stage to Galway and were dethroned from that 2023 All-Ireland. But they did start well. Carla Rowe getting in the opening score. Then Galway kind of turned the screw. We have Olivia Divley and Roisin Leonard getting the scores, two players that definitely don't need an invitation to find the posts. Then Niamh Heatherton manages to restore parity at the other end, but Leonard with 2 points showing her quality. And then big games have big moments. Carla Rowe gets another score, and then Hannah Tyrrell gets a penalty in the 17th minute, tucks it away. You're thinking, okay, Dublin might have the advantage now, and then sides are back on level terms. Kate Slevin and Leonard, again, real driving force for Galway in that forward line. And then, you know, you have Hannah Tyrrell and you're going in at the break, you're level 1-6 to 9 points. It's a very, very closely fought game. And then I know we have that, I suppose, lung-busting ending, and I suppose everyone was on the edge of their seat in Tullamore, but I suppose 14 minutes into the second half before we had a score, Kate Sullivan gets it. Rowe had departed the field for a while, then she comes back on. Dublin have the energy, they're still going. Then I suppose Galway looked like they've peaked at the right time. They're getting their scores, they're taking it toward the end, and then come at the hour, come at the woman, Hannah Tyrrell, showing just nerves of steel to point a free to send the game into extra time. No better person, I think, on the Dublin team to step up and take a free in I suppose, a very, you know, tight moment, and just trying to get you into extra time and try and force it. Then, you know, Tyrrell, he gets a couple of points in extra time, but Olivia Divley comes back. But Dublin are 113 to 14 points clear at half time in extra time. Then we get to the second half of extra time. There's so much to digest from this game. It's actually just, I'd say we could nearly be here an hour just dissecting this game. Dublin start as they mean to go on, and Carla Rowe scores one of the most audacious goals you will ever see. You're in extra time in an All-Ireland semi-final, and the ball just comes to her just outside the 6 yard, and she just, or the square, and she just back heels it into the back of the net. Just the audacity to even try that in an All-Ireland semi-final, like, is just unbelievable. And then Kate Sullivan gets a goal just a few minutes later, and, you know, Dublin are 9 points clear. You're thinking, okay, Dublin are booking their ticket, and then Andrea Trill and Olivia Divley both find the net at the back at the other side, and you're thinking, okay, we're not finishing this game in extra time. Galway are going to manage to pull it out somewhere, but Dublin just shut up shop in the final few minutes. Like, it was just an absolute absorbing game from start to finish. And like, Joanne, we'll talk about extra time, like just what goes through the players' minds. Obviously, you have players that will, you know, they come off and you can bring them back on, and there's a couple of substitutions that are made, and they're trying to get the fresh legs, which both teams were trying to do in both of those additional periods. But like, that was just an absolutely chaotic ending to this game.
It had everything, didn't it? It literally was the definition of extra time. And like, with girls cramping, goals scored. Well, although I don't think anyone could have scripted that goal. Like, Carla Rowe scored, and I don't know whether she has a soccer background, but I couldn't even have the coordination to back heel it in, never mind in that intense game, you know, what was on the line. If she had to miss that, oh Jesus, the abuse she would have got. But like, honestly, fair fuck, sorry, maybe I'm not letting caution this. Fair play to her, like, what, it was an outrageous score, and look, I'm sure they had some laugh at it after. But yeah, like, I just thought it was just, like, I thought Dublin had it. You know, in fairness to Galway, they really dug deep. And to be honest, it kind of looked like the Olivia Divley show. Like, you know, I just felt like Galway just probably needed that one more energising forward just to kind of give her a hand to kind of get them scores. You know, it looked like Dublin were getting their scores a lot easier than how hard Galway had to work for them. And then the 2 goals came, and then you're thinking about Jesus, even if they had to get that point. And, at that point, you're thinking about all the points that could have added up to help that out. But it was a fantastic showcase of football. And, even that tackle from Hannah Turrell at the end there, and it just kind of set the tone for Dublin. They just looked like they really just wanted it more. And Galway just kind of looked like they just kind of ran out of steam. And then, I say last few minutes, mind you, it was a serious effort from them. But what a semi-final.
No, because it's just, I suppose when you're in those moments and it's, scenario based and, the ball comes to her, I think it's just, why not? Maybe it was just, if I try and play it onto my foot and try and tap it in, maybe Dervla Gower is back across the goal and she's going to be there to make the save, or a Galway player manages to come in and just put something in the way to clear it. But it's just the way you just couldn't script it. And, I don't know if she does have the soccer background. Maybe we'll have to figure it out. But I'd say there's a few Women's League of Ireland clubs around Dublin that have tried to contact her to say, hey, you might be handy inside in the forward line. I know we touched on it there.
Instinct. Sorry, yeah, it looked like instinct. It didn't look like it was. She definitely has that flair in her anyway.
She's been such a serious campaigner for Dublin all those years, and I suppose you want those players that can perform in big moments. You mentioned that Hannah Tyrrell, the tackle that she made at the end, just those little moments can really lift a team. And I know Dublin have a lot of younger players coming through, and maybe a lot of people had said they're in a transition, they're missing a couple of key players, they've had injuries, retirements, but they haven't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
They're still very much there like they were back in 23 when they went on to win the All-Ireland. We mentioned there, but to be battle-hardened going into this game. Obviously, Meath got the job done within regulation time. Dublin had to go all the way into extra time, and it looked like there could be candle lights being turned on in Tullamore at one point if it had continued going all the way to what was going to transpire after extra time should they have been tied. But from the Dublin perspective, I know, Clare, you played them in the group stage, and they had a little bit of a bump in the road against Waterford, getting the score laid on to level up matters. But the way they've gone about their business, they had some big wins, but this is definitely something that can stand to them, that they really got a tough battle of it against Galway and they got over that line.
Oh, exactly, yeah. And even after last year's quarter-final, that will have felt like a very, very satisfying win as a standalone game, I think, let alone that it's given them a spot in the final. But yeah, I think there was definitely, I was thinking, that result on day idea, it was getting to the stage on Saturday that you're thinking, well, what if extra time turns into, I know there's a way of finishing it, but nobody would have wanted that game to finish any other way than in open play, you know what I mean? But yeah, Dublin, look, as I say, Galway had reasons to want to get back to Croke Park, everyone does, but Dublin just, I've just felt like they're really on a mission, and I never felt stronger than the day we played them. But games like our game against them wouldn't have helped them much, but a game like that against Galway on the weekend will certainly, they've gone to, they had to bring it to extra time, so they're capable of doing that. And yeah, just you have to kind of once again give a special mention to the likes of Hannah Tyrrell, everything she did obviously with the free and scores, but probably the most impressive thing she did all day for me was that near hand tackle. It was just such a, she could have gotten away without doing it. No one was going to say, oh, you didn't work hard enough, but she wasn't going to miss it. And it was like textbook tackle. It was brilliant. So again, we talked earlier about kind of quieter moments in the game or less notable ones. For all she did with scoring and for them up front, that was one of the best things she did at the weekend in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a moment? Obviously, she goes away and she scores the 1 goal and 6 points. Everyone's going to be talking about that. Obviously, she got player of the match as well after the game. But as you mentioned there, when you see someone coming back at such a pivotal point in the game, you're absolutely drained because you're running constantly. It's an All-Ireland semi-final as well. You're doing everything you can. When you see a player coming back and they do that, which mightn't be part of their repertoire and what you think, look, you're supposed to be up there, not down here trying to make those kind of tackles. just how big of a boost is it for a team in those key moments of extra time when you have those little things go your way? You win a turnover, you might get a free close to your goal, like she makes that tackle as well. Like, how big for a team is that?
I think that those kind of things are huge in a game because they, especially when everyone's absolutely wrecked, it brings so much energy. Like, I might be standing on the pitch going, I can do no more. And then I see Joanne block a ball. It's a weird thing kind of to probably describe until you're on a field and experience it. You see a teammate do it, or you do something like that for your team. It's hard to even quantify what it brings because, as I say, it's not a score on the board, but it just lifts the team. And you could see like Hannah's reaction, her own reaction, and the team around her when she did that. Like, it was the timing, everything was just perfect about it. But again, the biggest thing was that kind of look at what your teammate is willing to do for you and what she's willing to do for everyone around her. So, yeah, you can never say what a block or a turnover means exactly, but we all, if you've had that feeling of doing it for your team or a teammate, kind of the energy it brings is just magic.
That Dublin squad just looked like such a tight-knit group. And even if they have had big leaders leave, they have those players that can come in. Like I said, those younger players that are just, performing. Obviously, you have the likes of Hannah Tyrrell and Carla Rowe, 1-6 and 1-2 respectively. Kate Sullivan gets 1-1. And, you have some of those defenders that Dublin have, like they're well seasoned. They've been there through the ups and the downs. They know exactly what, I suppose, it takes to get over the line in Croke Park. They know what it's like to be on the losing side in Croke Park, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of memories from that 2021 final that'll come flooding back to a lot of these players. Of course, when they were both in their last All-Ireland finals, they did get over the line, 22 and 23 respectively, for these two teams. We'll obviously be looking at these games more in detail next week, but this final, I know we've said it all year, it's so hard to call these games. And I know that obviously these two have played in Leinster. They've had so many battles over the years, but it really is shaping up to be, you just kind of can't call it because, Meath are probably going to come in maybe as the underdogs, as the team that have, it's been a few years since they were last there. But then again, people might say that Dublin are the underdogs because of players that they've lost, new management coming in. They've done fantastic in terms of how you bet a team in. They've got to an All-Ireland final in their first year. Fair play, and a lot of management teams will get there. But from the perspective, like, how hard is it going to be to call this game?
I think, again, it's going to be so massive. Like, and I don't think it even, I feel like these teams, it's not even like a question of like nerves or anything like that. I feel like they're so calm, and it's nearly as if, like, obviously we're here, but like Claire said, in that quietly confident way, like, I think the teams themselves would be fully, like, have that full belief that they knew that this was going to be a part of their path this year. Like, and I think it's interesting, even the Dublin management, even the tactics of taking like Carla Rowe off, putting her back on, like things like that is going to be very interesting against Meath, because I do think it's going to be a very tight game that, do you risk something like that in the last 10 minutes and run the risk of potentially not even getting the extra time. Things that it is going to be like we talked about before, the semi-finals, the matchups, things like this. I do feel like that both teams have very big players that are willing to stand up and love these occasions. So it's going to be, I can't wait. I just can't call it again, though. I do feel like I'm in that going round in circles basically to come back to saying that I just can't call it.
No, both teams have their strengths, and it's going to be an absolute titanic clash when these two manage to do battle on the 3rd of August in Croke Park. Obviously, we had our preview show last week, and we didn't manage to get anyone from Dublin and Galway in terms of getting their thought process going into this game. And I would say last week, whoever manages to get out on the line will see who can come on. But we managed to get not one, but two interviews from the Dublin camp this week. So I managed to catch up with their joint manager, Paul Casey, and also one of their forwards in Nicole Owens. Now, just a couple of weeks until we get into the All-Ireland final. I'm delighted to be joined by Dublin's joint manager, Paul Casey, a man who's won an All-Ireland title and numerous Leinster titles as a player and has made it all the way to an All-Ireland final in his first year, of course, taking on the reins of the Dublin job. Paul, you're very welcome to the Final Whistle Ladies Gaelic Football Podcast.
Thanks, Dermot. Delighted to be here.
Yourself and Derek were both unanimously ratified by the Dublin executive towards the latter stages of last year after Mick Bowen stepped down from the role. How have you found that transition moving into the manager's role when both of you have had, I suppose, stints with the team, but I suppose varying years in terms of you've been there since 2018 and Derek's only been there since 2022?
I suppose, look, it's familiar surroundings, and yeah, it's obviously different when you're in a position that you're joint managing it. But look, we've had a lot of the same backroom team there that have been there the last number of years. We've been able to put our own kind of stamp on things as well and freshen it up. And yeah, it happened late last year, I suppose, that we were ratified. So immediately you kind of had to get down to hard work, speak to some of the elder stateswomen within the squad, see where they coming back or do they want to come back, and then you're trying to bring fresh players in as well. So I suppose from before Christmas last year, it's been very, very busy, and as you know, I think anybody involved, the games come thick and fast once the National League starts and into Championship and the condensed season mean that you're, I suppose, looking to come out and play games every couple of weeks or even every week at some stages. So yeah, it's been very, very busy, but it's been thoroughly enjoyable, and it's a great bunch of girls to work with. And we've enjoyed it, and there's been lots of learnings on the way. And we look forward now to the last couple of weeks in the season.
In terms of a new management coming in, like a lot of managers can, you might find it difficult to bed in, your own tactics and stuff like that. In terms of the league, Dublin were very competitive, just missing out on a chance of getting into the final, and maybe a couple of results just didn't go your way in that campaign. But then Leinster went the way that you wanted, and now you're all the way into Croke Park on August 3rd. So it has been, I suppose, a year of ups and downs, but now you're preparing for the biggest day of all.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, that's the experience of being involved over the last number of years, that you kind of you're able to see that it's very much a stepping stone in terms of going from one level to the next throughout the season, and you can't really, I suppose, pin all your hopes on hitting top form in the National League. And we've been able to build steadily. We've been able to reintroduce some of the established members of the panel at different times, and the season has gone well in terms of being able to, I suppose, be on that upward trajectory. We were happy with the way we obviously finished the National League, and then you're immediately into what was a very competitive Leinster Championship, and then the games come thick and fast, and you've no room to sit back and relax. After the Leinster final, we were straight then preparing for the group stages, and here we are now, having had a busy last 4 weeks, and looking into a very busy couple of weeks now in the lead up to the final.
The Waterford game was very closely fought in the group stage, could have gone either way, and you get the score right at the death to salvage a result out of that game. Then you take the Leitrim game, fantastic showing by Dublin, score you put up on the board. That took you into the Cork game. We're very impressive in that Cork game. And then Galway on Saturday could have gone either way. Another, I suppose, game that went to extra time when you lost to them 12 months prior in Fermanagh Park, but managed to get over the line. And I imagine that, I suppose, being battle hardened from that Galway game can be such a testament to the group going in now to face a team like Meath in this All-Ireland final.
I think even over the course of the National League, we had some very tight games, and we drew Waterford back in Fermanagh Park in February. And then obviously we had tight games after that as well. But definitely that Waterford game stood to us. We weren't happy with the performance that day down in Dungarvan, but we were delighted with the way the team fought to the very, very end, literally the last kick of the game. The Leitrim game then posed a kind of different challenge in terms of having to go out and put our best foot forward and have to rack up a score, knowing that Waterford were capable also of matching us. And it is important to finish top of your group. You obviously get a home quarter final and you're playing one of the second place teams. Now that's not to be. Look, last year we were in the same position and Galway managed to overturn us, but we knew we had to be on top of our game against Cork. A lot of history with Cork over the years with this squad, and thankfully we got over that. And then Galway, we knew it was going to be a battle royale. We've been very impressed with them over the last couple of years. Last year we drew with them and we beat them again in the closing stages in the National League game in Fermanagh Park. They obviously pipped us after extra time in the quarter-final, so we knew that there was absolutely nothing between the team. They've been building really, really nicely all year. Obviously unbeaten in Division 2, went on to win it. Pretty comfortable during the Connacht Championship, and then they finished top of their group. So they were definitely on an upward curve as well, and we knew it would come down to literally a kick of the ball, and that's all it was. And I mean, we were again show great fight to the end of normal time, and then Hannah sticks over that free kick where, look back last year, we probably didn't get some of the scores that we should have from place balls, but and then had that little bit of momentum going into extra time, and I think anything could have happened in extra time, and it was again topsy-turvy. We looked to be home and hosed, and Galway shown that the team they fought to the very, very end. And like we had looked at last year's quarter-final and said if we had another couple of minutes we could have pipped them, and I'm sure they're saying the same thing this year, but thankfully we got over it. And hopefully it can stand to us now going into the final that we've had come through a really, really close match. But we know Dublin Meath takes on a life of its own, and we know how good they are. We're very familiar with each other over the last number of years, and we know we're going to have to be at our very, very best to be competitive against Meath on Sunday week.
Absolutely. But in terms of, we'll say Saturday again, 12 months ago it was extra time and Galway managed to get over the line with a late score. Then you look at Saturday, you get the rub of the green in the second half of extra time, but Galway roar straight back. Was there any signs of nerves? Because the girls defended so well in those closing exchanges that you could have said, Galway could snatch it and we could find ourselves out of the championship once again.
Absolutely. And I think, I suppose in those games, particularly in extra time, you don't have a lot of time to be able to recover from mistakes, and particularly goals. We conceded 3 goals against Galway last year in the quarter-final. Ultimately, that got them over the line, and thankfully this year we rattled the back of the net 3 times, and even Carla's her goal was one that you're not going to see too often in Gaelic football, let alone ladies Gaelic football. And just look, we probably did get the rub of the green, but that's what you get when you fight to the end and you keep fighting and giving everything and laying it out there. You're eventually going to get the rub of the green, and thankfully it fell our way. But yeah, Galway were hugely impressive. Even when they look down and out and you see the players going down with cramp and our players going down with cramp, and it becomes a little bit manic, but it's a matter of the team that's chasing, giving everything they can, and the team that's hanging on is just hanging on for dear life. And even there was girls there who were out on their feet, but they still managed to fight to the very, very end. And look, thankfully we won that last kick out, and we were able to get over the line. But yeah, it was probably a very entertaining game for the neutrals, and obviously we're delighted to come out the right side of it.
It was certainly an audacious goal from Carla. I know maybe managers will say, just keep it simple when you're trying to put the ball into the back of the net. But, she didn't have much time to stop, maybe pick the ball up and just had to think on her feet. And thankfully she just gets a flick onto it and it goes in. And
and we've some players that would be excellent soccer players and probably would have played a lot of soccer growing up, and I think Carla wouldn't mind me saying she's not one of those players that could grace the soccer field as well. But again, as she said herself, it's just the first thing that came into her head was to throw the heel at it. And ironically, you look back and you say a lot of people might have stopped the ball and tried to backheel it, and I think if Carla had tried that, the defender was right on her boot. But yeah, it was one of those moments that sometimes a little bit of magic is what's required to win a game that close. And thankfully we did follow up then with another very well taken goal from Kate. And look, Galway cleared one off the line in the second half, and Kate obviously hit the post as well. So there was lots of goal chances, and some days they won't for you and some days they won't. So we're delighted that the 3 of them did go in this week.
Absolutely. You'll take it and you get over the line, and now looking at, taking on Meath in this All-Ireland final. In terms of, like I mentioned at the start, you had a long Dublin career playing over a decade in the Dublin jersey, and then once, you got to the stage of calling it a day, and you went and did a few bits, but now you're involved in the ladies game. How was the transition from playing all those years to then getting involved within the coaching setups?
Yeah, obviously it's fantastic to play, and did a bit with development squads. After I finished up playing with Dublin, obviously still played with the club, and then Mick did ask me to come get involved after they won it in 2017. Something I'd never have kind of thought of, and I obviously knew Mick from, he managed Luke and my club when I was playing there. Went in, and have to say I loved it from day one. Was made feel very, very welcome. Fantastic group of girls, obviously coming off the back of it, winning an All Ireland. There was still such a hunger for there, and a willingness and a want for them to learn. And I, as a coach, it's very much just trying to impart little bits of knowledge and your experience to them. But I have to say that it's some of the football brains within the squad at that time were exceptional, and I probably learned as much off them as they did off me. But it was coming into an excellent setup, and again, very good coaches there as well. And Mick was obviously very, very experienced, and I have to say I enjoyed it. And as long as Mick was staying there, I was happy to stay there. And obviously then would never have foreseen that I'd stay on after Mick. But yeah, the way things panned out then, I suppose myself and Derek put our name forward, and with a lot of Mick's, the management team that he would have put together, were willing to stay as well. And some of them had only been in a couple of years, so there was a freshness there. Obviously, when the chance to manage your county comes along, you have to give that due consideration. Again, it's that familiarity with players, with what they're looking for, and you're asking yourselves, could myself and Derek give them that in terms of putting together a management team? And look, yeah, we're delighted to be back in an All Ireland final, and it's a new experience going into that game as in the position we're in. But every game so far has been new for us, so we'll just keep doing what we've been doing, and we're working with a fantastic group. And the girls they're well able to lead this themselves as well from within. So they're in a good place, and we're really enjoying it. And hopefully now we can go out and do ourselves justice on Sunday week.
Absolutely. And even from your own playing days with Dublin, you played under a host of managers, probably notably Pat Gilroy, leading up to that 2011 All-Ireland final win. And, Pat's CV speaks to himself. He's a legendary figure within Dublin GA. And then you talk about, Mick, the CV that Mick has with the ladies game. I'm sure just those two managers, I know there's been plenty more that you've played under, but you can just take little bits of information from them and just try and utilize it to your own learning and development to now see you into, managing the team with Derek this year.
Absolutely. And I think, as a player, you play with under so many managers, be it at club level, at county level, but also there's a backroom team there, and there's excellent coaches that maybe aren't as prominent as the manager. But and I think you want to be your own person. You're not going to go out and try and copy someone's style, but you certainly take certain aspects from every manager, every coach you've worked under, and try to bring them to your own kind of coaching and managing philosophy. And I suppose from our point of view, there's two of us there, so we have kind of double that experience that we're able to put our own stamp on it. But it's worked out really, really well so far. We're really enjoying it. Myself and Derek played for years and years together as well, so we know each other. We're similar characters as well. And we've been able to take learnings from lots of those managers that you mentioned. And also, look, there's others that you've probably played under the years and say, that wouldn't be my style. And it's all learning, but you're always trying to evolve and grow, and to ultimately be your own person. And in our case, we're able to work together and put our own slant on things as well.
Obviously, now it's all about the All-Ireland final, and you're playing Meath, a team that you're well accustomed to. They defeated Dublin in the 2021 final. You've had so many battles over the years, Leinster finals in the league and so on and so forth. They're a very tough team. They'll be hungry to get an All-Ireland title under their belts this year. No doubt, Dublin, the exact same. And it will be a right battle from start to finish to bring home the Brendan Martin Cup.
Absolutely. And look, they're our local neighbours here, our local rivals. And I think in 2021, they probably came from From the wilderness, having come up through, won the intermediate championship, having come up through Division 2 in the league, and we weren't familiar. I think we hadn't played them at all in the previous number of years. And certainly they deserve to win that All-Ireland final in 2021, hands down. Obviously played each other a number of times since in Leinster Championship and the All-Ireland series. And definitely now, look, they're in an All-Ireland final. They're there absolutely on merit, and they're there because they're a very, very good football team with some fantastic players, and we've learned a lot from each other over the years from playing them. And yet, look, we've played them 3 different times this year, and I think every game was very, very different. And both teams are probably continuing to evolve and grow and change, and this game on Sunday week takes on a life of its own. And I think Meath, rightly so, will feel they have every chance of coming in to win the game, and likewise we'll be we know that we have a very good chance if we perform on the day of overturning them, but can't see any more than a kick of a ball in between it. And for the neutral spectator, it's going to be a fantastic spectacle. We just hope that we get as many people from all over the country, but particularly obviously from Dublin, into watches and to supporters on the day of the final, because one thing I've been lucky enough to experience firsthand and see over the years is All-Ireland Ladies Final Day is a very special day in the Gaelic Games calendar. The colour that's brought to Croke Park, the noise, the fanfare is fantastic, and it's just great to be part of that part of the day. But obviously there's a massive onus and pressure on us to go and perform as well.
Absolutely. It promises to be some spectacle between yourselves and Meath, and right from the junior championship final all the way to the senior final. It's going to be an absolutely enthralling day of ladies football action. €30 for a ticket to watch 3 action-packed games. Some savage value for spectators, even if you are a neutral and you've no affiliation with any of the 6 counties. Definitely a nice day out in Croke Park, as you mentioned.
And you look back, I mean, one of the games of the year for me, the games of the last number of years for me last year was the intermediate final between Leitrim and Tyrone, which was just a magical game. So yeah, it's not all about the senior final. The other games will be as competitive as well, and I think it's one thing that the LGFA do really, really well is their promotion of, the junior championship and the intermediate championship, and they have their place on the most important day of the LGFA calendar as well. And likewise, to have the junior semi-finals and intermediate semi-finals on their own standalone weekend, I think is credit to the LGFA for that. And yeah, I'm sure all the other 4 counties involved are going to bring massive support there as well, and they get the bonus then of sitting back and being able to watch the senior final after either being on the high of winning their respective finals, or on the I suppose the crushing blow of having lost it. But I think it's fantastic to have 6 teams, 6 counties represented on the day, and we're just really lucky to be one of them.
And Dublin and Meath have brought plenty of colour, plenty of noise in respective finals over the years. What way is it going to go? Well, we'll just have to wait and see on Sunday, August the 3rd. Paul, thanks very much for coming on the Final Whistle Ladies Gaelic Football podcast this week, and we wish you and all in Dublin the very best of luck in that All-Ireland final against Meath.
Thanks, Diarmuid. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Now I'm delighted to be joined by a player who's won 4 senior All-Ireland titles, 10 Leinster titles, 2 National League titles, and an All-Star award. That is Dublin's Nicole Owens. Nicole, you're very welcome to our Ladies Gaelic Football podcast.
Hey, Diarmuid. Just having me.
More excitement in the capital this year. Dublin back in an All-Ireland final once again. No doubt delighted to have gotten over the line on Saturday evening in a very tough and bruising contest against Galway.
Yeah, a little bit relieved, to be honest. But pretty serious match, bit of a marathon. And thankfully, unlike last year, this time we got it done.
Obviously, last year, quarter-final stage, it goes to extra time. This year, Hannah Turtle puts over a free in the closing stages. I think you could put your money on her to do that countless times, to send it to extra time. What was the thought process amongst the squad when I know there was disappointment 12 months ago that you didn't get the job done in extra time? Was there that maybe still doubt lingering in the panel again that it was another period of extra time?
No, actually, I think probably the opposite. 'Cause I think, to be fair, if you look at watching it back, Galway had a chance. We gave it all twice with a minute and a half to go. So Galway had a chance to maintain the ball. So I think actually not that I was against the run of play, we worked our way back into it, but I think once Hannah stepped up, and again, like I had no doubt. I was already thinking, oh god, extra time, here we go again. I had no doubt she was going to score it. But I think once we scored that, I think there was not even a momentum shift, but I think definitely if there was any sort of doubts, I think that kind of like extinguished them, because say last year, like I think the takeaway for a lot of us is really that like we can't beat ourselves. And that's not taking away from Galway. I thought they were excellent the weekend. But a lot of us played way under what we're capable of, and as a team we didn't gel at all. And I think there was a bit of that now in normal time on Saturday, but I think extra time, I think you just saw it finally started to gel. Some of the movement was really good. You know, we started doing the things that we had said we'd work on normal time. And yeah, kind of ticked on. And I thought we were home and dry with 6 minutes to go, but we unfortunately conceded a few late goals. But yeah, luckily we'd given ourselves the blanket then. That was enough to get us out of the line.
First period of extra time is fairly closely fought, but you do go in with a narrow lead at the break. Does that give you massive momentum going in now to that second half, knowing, okay, we have a lead, let's just see it out now for the next 10 minutes?
Yeah, so I think, like I was looking at it like from the match, I don't think there was much of a gap at any stage in the match. I think maybe Galway were up kind of consistently during normal time. I think we hadn't managed to just get a few on the scoreboard and start that momentum. So going out, I think we went in 2 points up, and then I think we came out and managed to pick that up in three, and then we kind of, I think once we were there, it felt like that was a really positive position to be in. And I think especially at halftime of extra time is just about like, okay, let's just keep, we finally kind of start kicking into drive, let's just keep this going, and again it's just next score.
And then you talk about scores and big moments in the game. Second half of extra time, Carla scores that absolute wonder goal, and then Kate comes up with a goal. You get two goals in quick succession, and Galway look a bit rocked, and you're ahead. I think it was 9 points at that stage. Yeah. What was the view from the dugout and immediate reaction when you see Carla just backheeling the ball into the back of the net?
Well, I didn't know it was a backheel until I came back in and someone was like, "Did you see the backheel?" I was like, "Oh, bloody hell." Because there was a bit of, when one had come flying in, and it deflected off a few players, and then it kind of seemed to just get bundled in. When I saw the replay, I was like, "Oh, it was actually a great finish." So yeah, look, I think it went in. That's all that matters. And probably wouldn't have had time to pick it up anyway, because I know like it had kind of deflected, and the keeper and the Galway defenders were moving across, and then I think for Kate's goal, I think just an example of like persistence as well. I think like Hannah Lee had come on and had a great run and like cut right through the middle and set it up. And yeah, you'd always back Kate to finish it from there.
Then, of course, Galway hit back with 2 goals of their own, and it could be a fairly nervy end, but credit the defence in those final couple of minutes for just being very resolute in the way that they played. And then you look at, Hannah Tyrrell, obviously she scores 1-6 at one end, but when she comes back, she makes that tackle. She's coming back like tired legs to play the full game and just to try and do everything to get Dublin over the line. Like, it was such a fantastic end to the game from 1 to 15.
Yeah, I think it would have been nicer for it to not have to come so close in the end. But I think the work rate, I think, was really something that came out. The likes of Hannah coming back and like getting that strip. Just again, it's just that idea of like that's removing a scoring opportunity for them and giving us another one. I think we went back up and scored after that. Actually, we kept the ball for a bit, and then the defense. Like I'd always back our defense. To be honest, I think our team is built on the foundation of our defense and how strong they are. And yeah, we shipped a few more than we would have liked to on Saturday, but usually they're putting us in a great position as forwards because they're usually keeping the score as kind of low as possible, and they're also a great asset then and kind of shooting forward, the likes of Goldie and Niamh Crowley and Dawn coming like flying forward gives us that such an advantage, because something Galway did so well in normal time. I was really impressed with them, to be honest. It was incredibly hard to defend against from the front.
I know that there's a lot been said about, I suppose, the Dublin team. There's a lot of players that have departed, and there's been a couple of injuries as well. And maybe people are using the word transition for Dublin, that, you know, there's a couple of high profile names from the last few years that obviously have departed for various reasons and stuff like that. I know you made your debut way back in 2012, and we would be one of the older players in the team, but there are so many young girls that are coming through. You look at the likes of Hannah McGuinness, you know, she showed absolutely no fear when she's come into the team. Sophie McIntyre came on for you the last day, 20 years old. Abby Shields is still in her early 20s. Kate Sullivan, I think she's 25. Niamh Heatherton's 24. Like, there's so many younger players that have, you know, they've gained so much experience from this campaign. And while you have lost a lot of players, you've gained some fantastic players, and other players have really, really put the hand up for the Dublin jersey this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think the competition is very intense, to be honest, which is what you want. Like, I think, yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with team in transition. I'm going to push back on you on there, because like I did my ACL again in 2020, then 2022. So I wasn't there in 2023, but obviously they won in 2023, which was very much team in transition. I think last year, yeah, look, I think there's a lot of factors, like you never kind of point to injuries or anything, but I think, you know, we came up against Galway, who are a really good team, and lost in the quarterfinal. And I think there's a lot of a kind of core of players that have been, you know, around and have been starting for a good few years that are in their mid-20s. Some will start in our early 30s, some will start in their mid-30s. Not me, thankfully. But yeah, I think, yeah, even looking at kind of, obviously we've had, you know, we lost Lauren this year, which was massive. But I think if you look at the team and kind of who stepped up, you're always going to miss, you know, players of that caliber. But the fact that we've just had kind of like next man up mentality, I think has been really crucial.
In terms of the campaign itself, I know you had start against Waterford, and you ended up drawing right at the death in that game. Then got, you know, a high score win against Leitrim, and then the Cork game just showcased your scoring threat. Then the Galway game, it was very tight from start to finish. Could have gone anyway in terms of the contest. I suppose, how big of a learning can that Galway game now be going into an All-Ireland final against a team like Meath?
Well, massive. Like, I think if you look at, I'm sure Meath will obviously look at the Galway game and see what, you know, what worked. And so there's both sides of it. They'll see things to exploit, and we'll see things to work on. I think, like I said, I thought Galway were excellent, particularly in normal time, in terms of just direct running. I think they break out of defence incredibly well. And it's just waves of really, really like strong angled runs. So I think, even just as we're looking to set up like me, they're going to do a very similar thing. They run the ball as well. So, yeah, I think lots of things that we'll look at. I know, like, our kickouts definitely was an area that, like, we would usually expect higher returns on. So that's something we can focus on. And yeah, I think, look, I think the core performance was a much better team performance. But I think, look, you want to have something to focus on for the next 2 weeks, and feel that, like, you know, that Nest-Wedding, you know, wasn't necessarily our best performance the weekend, but we won it, and that's all that matters. So you kind of take the learnings from that, and then bring them into the final, which is where you want to be in Croker.
Some people might say Dublin are back. Others will say you never win away in terms of getting back to yet another All-Ireland final. You know, 12 months ago, you were standing on the pitch in Parnell, dejected after that Galway game. So I can imagine just the relief of the squad. You were running out onto the field in Tullamore once the hooter went, and it was, you know, amazing scenes, and all the Dublin supporters that just flooded the field and were just giving you support. Like, that's massive now in the lead up to yet another All-Ireland final.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a lot of work to be done now, so that we go in kind of in the best position to, you know, give ourselves the best chance to win. But yeah, from my perspective, I think it's just trying to enjoy it, and I'm like talking to a few of the older girls as well. It's just like, you know, there's no guarantee that you're going to win. There's no guarantee you'll be in All-Ireland final again. So trying to just enjoy the run up, and yeah, appreciate the people that are around, and the sport, and, you know, the kind of good luck messages you get kind of for the next 2 weeks. It is lovely. Kind of really feel a sense of community coming behind you.
It is going to be an absolute battle against Meath, and it's going to be very much an exciting All-Ireland final once again. Nicole, thank you very much for coming on to our Ladies Gaelic Football podcast this week, and the best of luck in that All-Ireland final against Meath.
Cheers, Diarmuid.
And that, of course, was the view from the Dublin camp after that absolutely exhilarating clash with Galway at the weekend. Of course, they are now into an All-Ireland final against Meath on the 3rd of August, as I mentioned just before we heard from Paul and Nicole, respectively. Now we're going to be looking ahead next week, of course, to the big 3 games that will be in Croke Park. The junior final between Antrim and Louth, that's at 11:45. Then you have the intermediate clash between Laois and Tyrone. That game kicks off at 1:45. And then the senior final, 4:15, Dublin taking on Meath. Tickets for all those finals, of course, available via Ticketmaster. €30 for adults to see all those respective finals, and juvenile students and OAPs are €15. There is a group deal going with the LGFA at the moment where one adult can go for €10 and every 10 under 18s are €5 a ticket. And there's also a club levy voucher. All clubs can qualify for a €150 voucher to get tickets for their finals. So go on to the LGFA website, just have a look there, because we have seen some blockbuster All-Ireland finals over the last few years, and those 3, we'll be talking about them in more detail next week. We'll have a special episode of previewing, of course. Joanne will be talking about the junior final from winning it last year, and Clare, of course, from the Leitrim camp that got over the line last year against Tyrone. What way will those 2 finals go? And then, of course, we'll have that senior clash, and we'll have plenty of interviews with players from those respective camps as well. So definitely tune in for episode number 10 of our Final Whistle Ladies Gaelic Football podcast next week. My thanks to the 2 girls for joining us once again after a massive weekend. Even though we only had 2 games, we had plenty to talk about. As I said, we could be here for another hour talking about the Galway and Dublin game and just every little thing, going through each frame of the TV footage from the last day. It was an absolutely exhilarating game. The ladies football finals are definitely shaping up to be a massive advertisement for the sport this year, if it has anything to go by from the games that we have seen this year. But I hope you've enjoyed another week and another episode of our podcast, and we'll catch you next week for a look at the All-Ireland finals. We'll see you then.